Hey, hi, and howdy, sweet friends. Welcome back to my channel, and welcome if you are new. My name is Courtney. I do food and kitchen content, and this particular video is part of my home preservation journey with food. I just learned how to can things, and I gotta tell you guys, I love it. I think I'm going to continue to call this series just like last time. If I can, you can too, because guys, if I can do it, I promise you can too. So we're gonna do beans, which is like one of those easy beginner things. I am using just the rinsing method, not the soaking cooking method. So I've got some black beans that I thoroughly picked through and rinsed and made sure they were nice and clean. And then I've got some quart-sized jars because I know from my household, quarts is the right size, pints are too small. Typically when I do meals in my house, 1 can of beans that I buy from the store is just not enough. So I know I'm gonna need quart-sized jars. So I've got 1 cup of these cleaned beans that I'm measuring out into each one of these jars. And I've got 5 quart jars that we're gonna be working with today. So I'm going to go ahead and get these all full with the beans, just 1 cup in each one. And I'm going to season mine so you can kind of do whatever you want here. There's like not a ton of rules when it comes to seasoning. So look up a recipe and do what you want, or just add some salt to them if you don't want to put anything else in. I like the seasoned black beans from the grocery store. So I'm doing salt, garlic powder, onion powder, and a little bit of paprika because everything I read said to put some bell pepper in there, but I didn't have any, and paprika is really just ground up bell pepper. So that works for me. And I've actually tasted these beans since making them, and they are really, really good. They are very close to what I buy from the store, so I'm very pleased with them. So once I've got all of my spices and seasonings in there, you can see I am actually like pretty much measuring this. I was a good girl for this. Normally I do not measure things. I like to season with my heart and soul, but today I did kind of stick to some measurements. I'm going to put some water in here, just some regular room temperature water, because I have regular room temperature water in my pressure canner. And if you've got hot things, you want to put them in hot water. If you've got cold things, you want to put them in cold water. Otherwise you can shatter the glass. I'm not looking to shatter any glass anywhere because that is such a mess. So I've got room temperature water hanging out in my pressure canner, so I'm going to put room temperature water inside the jars. And I'm just filling them up to within 1 inch of headspace. I kind of went a little bit over the 1 inch mark. I think I did closer to 1.5 inches, which I got to tell you guys, I still had one of these jars leak, but I'm not sure if it was from the amount of water that was in there. I don't think I had too much water. I think it was the seal of the jar. I had 2 of these jars not seal, and that's the first time it's ever happened to me. I knew it would eventually. It's one of the things that happens when you're canning. I just have regular ball jars that I buy from the grocery store. I've heard a lot of people talk about the 4 Jars brand getting the lids, that they are way better. Because I'm buying all the new jars because I don't have any established jars in my household. I'm just using the lids that came with them for now, and I did have 2 that didn't seal. One of them I might have tightened too tightly, but I don't think I did. Could have though. I'm not going to say it, wasn't a user error, but I really feel like they just were faulty and didn't seal. Anyway, once I've got all my liquids in there, I'm using my little debubbler and giving everybody a good mix to make sure there's no air bubbles trapped in between the beans down there on the bottom. You want to try to make sure and get all the air bubbles out just for, safe canning practices. So I'm giving them a nice good stir, plus it blends up the spices a little bit. These are black beans, so the liquid that's in there is going to look dark and cloudy no matter what I do, so I'm not worried about any of my spices clouding up the water. For beans, typically because they're starchy, they're going to do that. Now, if you were doing fruits, you might want to steer clear of powdered spices and use like a spice bag, because I've read that the powdered spices can make your stuff look kind of cloudy. So if that's what you're going for, you want pretty jars, you might want to do that with your fruits and stuff. But for this, beans are going to look cloudy. I did wipe down the rims with some vinegar, and the rest of the vinegar I have left, I'm throwing into my canner just because it helps when I'm canning. I can get like a really, I almost want to say like a hard water residue on the outside of the jars, and I don't know if that's really what it is because I do have a water softener installed in my home, but it does leave a residue because one time I forgot to do that and those jars had this really weird stuff on the outside. So always toss a little bit of vinegar in there. I just wipe down my rims with vinegar to make sure there's nothing on there, and then toss the rest of it in the canner. It's just a couple tablespoons, but that seems to do the trick. Then I put my lids on and my rings, and again, I was just doing them finger tight, so I don't think I over tightened one, but I mean, it could always be a thing. So I really feel like in this particular time, I just had 2 lids that were kind of faulty, and I know that happens. And I know that when we washed them, because I hand wash these, you don't have to sterilize when you're pressure canning. I hand washed everything. The lids did stick together, a couple of them did, and I had to literally pry them apart, and I wonder if that messed up the seal. It could have definitely been that. But I've got these guys in my pressure canner. It says it does 5 quarts, so I've got 5 quarts in there. And I'm getting much better at using this guy. It took me a couple of trial and error moments, but I've got it all locked into place. I covered everything, and you can see I kind of fumble with that every time because I always want to make sure I have it locked into place. I get nervous with pressure cookers. Anyway, with this particular electric model, you take off the regulator, you put your lid on, tighten everything in, and then you plug it in and turn it on, and it kind of does everything else for you. You just set the time, which I'm doing 90 minutes for these jars, and you press start, and it'll just warm up the water and everything else inside, and then there's a point where I put the regulator on, and then it's good to go. But these are what the jars look like. Again, I had 2 that failed. We just ate them for dinner the next night. So they were really good and tasty, and this was a great way to can some beans. Very easy if you're looking for a beginner canner project. I highly recommend it. Anyway, thanks for joining me for this video, you guys. I appreciate all of you so much. If you like this content and you're not already subscribed, I hope you will do so. And I will be back on Tuesday with a grocery haul. So I hope to see you there. Bye.